This is KLEAN Radio.
Everybody out there, listen to KLEAN Radio, a show about addiction, recovery, and everything in the middle. And in studio, as always, not as always, but for the most part, my co-host with the most, the great Andrew Spanswick.
Hey, Judah, how's it going?
Good. Welcome back from, it's really cool. You were in Portland. You were in Washington.
Long Beach, Washington, Seattle.
And people recognized you on the street. And they...
back this morning.
And they hunted you down and wanted to ask you questions about how to get sober.
I actually did sort of an intervention in the middle of the street. Didn't work out very well, but, you know.
but you know what's sort of great about that? And it's like, and we talk about this a lot. It's, you know, it's really cool that you can walk around now, and because of this radio show, and because, you know, we're trying to open the airwaves, you know, about sobriety and mental health, that, you know, people are being recognized for trying to help people. It's, you know, the reverse of sometimes most of the time what goes on.
Yeah, you know, it's, I don't know, it's just kind of, it's nice that things are working out and that, you know, we're able to help a lot of people. And I got to meet a few people that we have helped up there that were actually in treatment up in Washington, in the facility up there. And they were really thankful. And it was nice to hear that, you know?
And so one of the things, you know, when we talk about this a lot on the show, is that we live in L.A. We're on all over, but we live in L.A. and I'm from New York. You're from, you know, we've been all over. And the talk of addiction, and because we this is what we do, and we have an amazing guest tonight who's an interventionist, and he was on the show Intervention. But for most people out there, they don't know any of this stuff. And I wanted to have Rand, who directs the show, come in, because I think sometimes we take for granted that we think we...
Is Rand going to be our example of someone that doesn't know anything?
Well,
Case study X.
Case study X. I like this.
Rand, is your mic on?
I don't know. Is this on?
And
it's on.
And Rand is Case Study X, but you know, you're not an alcoholic. You're not an addict that we know of.
Yeah.
Questionable.
And although when I did first meet you, it was heavily debated. And
he told us what his addiction was before on that one show.
Yes, but we won't mention it now because it's a family-friendly show.
Sarcasm. Google it.
So Rand, you know, you because you also direct the show, people I know have come up to you. You've had how is it dealing with people that are going through this?
Well, the great thing is when Judah takes me out to an addiction summit or something like that, he goes, "Hey, this is Rand. He's not sober."
Well, it's
I am at the moment.
By the way, that wasn't a summit. It was actually a weekend getaway.
But you really want to go?
But no, it's sort of funny because when you're with your girlfriend, you introduce everybody as this is your girlfriend, and we'll get to Rod in a second. But Rod, I'm sure
I'm good.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
we'll be able to attest to this. It's like when you're with somebody that's not, you want to say right away off the bat, because otherwise people will be like, "Oh, how long you sober, Rand?" And then
about 12 hours.
Yeah. So what is it like? I mean, you've had people that have gone through troubles.
Yes.
And is it possible for a non-addict, and that's what I want to talk about tonight, because we have an interventionist in the show, and Andrew, is it possible for a non-addict to help an addict get sober, or a non-alcoholic help an alcoholic get sober? And how has that been for you?
Well, see, we posted that on Facebook, facebook.com/KLEAN Radio. And there were a lot of responses on that post. And it kind of surprised me because I do think that a non-addict, someone who cares enough about the addict, can help. There's no one anti-addiction Sherpa that's going to show up and just show you. Maybe Andrew.
And our guest tonight, Rod. He's a Sherpa.
I don't carry anything. Let me tell you right now. I got people that carry stuff for me.
But I mean, it's the community around the addict. Wouldn't you agree?
And with that, let's get our guest tonight. His name is Rod Espudo. He's from the TV show Intervention. He's an interventionist. He's been sober a hell of a long time. And he's been helping people really for a long time.
26 years.
26 years.
Did my first intervention February 19th of 1989.
And so let's pose that question to you. Can a non-addict... Well, first of all, what is an intervention?
An intervention is somebody that has been trained in the art, so to speak, of intervening on somebody's life. Basically, I always get called to somebody's nightmare, you know, and usually if I can't truly feel empathy for that person, the intervention is not going to go well. If I can feel empathy for the parents all the way down to the addict, you know, I have a higher tendency to have a successful intervention, okay? Can a non-addict? Absolutely. It's about a message and not about the messenger. You know, if the message is, you know, concise and it is giving that person hope for that nightmare, then it doesn't really matter in regards to the, like, you know, the vehicle. It just matters whether or not that you can understand what they're going through. If you can understand what they're going through, then you can go ahead and do a good intervention.
Because, Andrew, there's a lot of great psychologists that have never been addicted or had addiction problems that are very world-renowned folks that can help with addiction.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just psychologists, it's psychiatrists and all sorts of people in the mental health field, but also, and even in, there's, reverends and priests and stuff that can, be helpful as well as policemen. It's people that just have empathy towards people that have mental illness or addiction and have some sort of experience with it. And they know if they don't know how to help people, they at least know how to get people help. And that's just as important as anything else. So, a lot of it's about empathy, though. And I think we see a lot of people coming into the helping professions that have had a history of mental health, at least in their family or addiction, personally or within their family, because they see the pain from all that. And once they sort of get over the anger of it, they generally find that the best way to deal with getting over the anger is to actually work with people and help with people with the same problem.
And if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in the studio tonight with Rod Espudo. From the amazing show Intervention. Andrew Spanzok, of course, is here, and Rand DeWitt. And the reason I asked this question, I think there are a lot of people out there that don't know how to, have this situation going on in their life with a loved one, and they don't know what to do. It's almost like they've hit a bottom.
Well, that's something that's very, very concerning to me as well, though, is people overstepping what they think they can do. Right. And we see a lot of that as well, where people, it's like you should know when you can do brain surgery and when you can't do brain surgery. That's pretty clear cut. But when it comes to things that are a little more subtle, like intervening with people's lives and dealing with it, and, especially if you're right in the middle of it, if you're a family member and you start getting in the middle of all those relationships and all those dynamics, that can be very tricky because often you're not really aware of your own part in the whole dynamic that's dysfunctional within that unit, that family unit or that group unit.
Whoever's intervening is going to be the bad person.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoever's intervening is going to be the bad person automatically. And what I found is that a lot of times when a family hears either what the price is or when I'm able to do the intervention, they take it upon themselves. And I've never heard of one turn out right or one turn out good. They either fade away and don't ever call me again,
right,
or they have found somebody else to do it. And
it's like trying to teach your kids how to drive. I don't recommend that.
So give us a call. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. If you're out there and you're driving and you're alone, you see, so you guys both raised a great point, Andrew, everybody in here. So basically what you're saying is part of the compassion is saying, I don't know what to do. But there are professionals out there like Rod who know what to do. And that sometimes is the best way for, it's like suggesting a great mechanic.
Yeah, and I think everybody has their part. Just because you may not know what to do doesn't mean that you have to be in this position of total helplessness.
Right.
And, hooking up with someone like Rod or an interventionist or calling KLEAN or whatever will allow you to hook up with professionals that will instruct you about how to behave, about how to deal with the problem. And you can overcome the anxiety of dealing with it and the fear of dealing with it and actually get to something constructive. Even if the outcome is not positive in the short term, at least you'll get a set of skills to work towards moving towards a more positive outcome with the best of luck. I mean, sometimes things unfortunately go wrong. We lose people sometimes, but for the most part, the goal is to try and help people.
So here's the question: does insurance cover interventions?
I actually was in negotiations 2 years ago with 3 HMOs. And what they wanted to pay me versus what I do, wasn't going to equal out right. Because we'll give you a bunch of interventions, and I didn't want that. I wanted the ability to take, because, I'm as successful as I am, coming up on 800 interventions in 26 years.
That's a lot of interventions.
You have no idea.
Because, they don't each take one day.
Yeah, right.
Some interventions could last a week.
The longest one I ever had was about 6 months from when I initially did it to when the person actually went in. I don't give up.
Actually, I want you both to talk about that because Andrew,
that's longer than my second marriage.
But Andrew, I always love when you talk about, because people don't understand this sometimes.
Right.
Is that when it takes 7 years. Yeah. When you first start. Sometimes.
They estimate, there was a study that estimated the average time between someone actually has a problem with addiction and when they pick up the phone to get help themselves is about 7 years. So, that's why it's important when the people call that somebody answers.
No offense to the show Intervention, but they did cloud society's, version of it. That person went in that day. That's not true. Only my experience has been 1 in 7 go in the day of the intervention, and usually it's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think that their bottom is a little bit different than everybody else's. I think the addict is more self-entitled, more blind to what's really going on than anything else.
So alcohol's a depressant, so they're probably a little easier
more
to manipulate.
shaken.
Someone that's high on speed is not really thinking clearly.
It's funny that you say that is because, I was an alcoholic, and I think our ability to sometimes, drug addicts have an amazing ability for the streets. Me as an alcoholic, it wasn't as, when I got confronted, it was almost like, you're stumbly with coming off the booze. You're more likely to just say, okay.
Well, alcoholics, but just people in general are very adaptable. Our bodies are adaptable. You look at an addict or an alcoholic, look at an alcoholic that's drinking, a fifth plus of, vodka a day, and their body can handle that for quite a few years, the human body is amazing, but what's most amazing is you can get them off of it and how quickly they can get their health back.
Right.
Sometimes they can, of course. Sometimes they've damaged their liver so badly. But there's so much hope for people that actually do want help, and I think that's sort of larger message.
And I think it's important what you're talking about with the 6 month, that it took 6 months, because no, not all are 6 months, but that you stood there the whole, that you were there, and that this is a process. And I think it's so hard for people to understand sometimes because it drives families crazy, because you want your kid, you want your loved one, I want to get them help right now.
No.
And sometimes it's not sometimes, it's a process. This is a lifelong process.
I actually prepare the families through the pre-intervention for failure. I actually prepare them for the failure of the intervention because it eliminates the expectation of that person going in that day. And in doing so, I let them know that we're about to start something that could go for a while. What's a while? It's not my place to say what a while is. It's fate's place to say what a while is. And it's also your son or daughter's place to say, what a while is. But don't put the expectation on it going, them going in now, them having this epiphany that, oh my God, you guys are all right. I am that way. Right. Because addicts are notorious, and specifically addicts, for being very resilient. How many people can get away with getting something with no job, no employment, no place to live, but yet they can maintain something that costs money?
Yet when they need to get treatment, that's when they can't get the money.
Rand's been doing it for years.
They need to go to treatment. They need to get a plane ticket.
There's nothing.
I'm broke. I got nothing. The hustle. All of a sudden, they lost it. You're listening to Clean Radio, so give us a call. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. I want to thank my normal friend, Rand, the director of the show.
Are we gonna tell him that he's actually here for an intervention?
Yeah, right.
We brought the interventionist in here.
Rand,
I'm starting to get the picture here.
Andrew
telling us the outline of
It's
the
a
story.
process, Rand.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say it because I love you.
Yeah.
And
Should we start with a group hug?
no.
That's not part of our intervention.
And so give us a call, like I said, 800-222-5222. We're in the studio tonight with Rod Espudo from the show Intervention, who's also done, he just said 800 interventions. You're like the rock star of interventions. So let's go to Chris from Culver City. Welcome to Clean Radio, Chris.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you, Chris?
Hey.
Good. You know what? I had to do an intervention on both my parents and my brother.
Wow.
It was hard. It's really hard. My parents were enabling my brother, and my brother was taking advantage of the situation.
So it was all. So your brother was an addict as well, or was he just taking financial advantage?
My brother was an addict. Also has a dual diagnosis, so it's the addict and mental health disorder. And my parents were enabling him.
What would be like the best sort of advice you could give people that are listening from that experience?
With an addict, I found I'm also in the healthcare profession,
Uh-huh.
so I work with this a lot. With an addict, they have to hit rock bottom, and it's hard. It's hard as a parent to watch your child hit rock bottom, but they have to. There has to be nowhere to go before they turn around and realize that they need help. And it took me having to get my parents to leave my brother in jail. They bailed him out, and literally 24 hours later, he was in jail again.
I'm sorry,
So-
Chris, this is Rod. Who did the intervention on your parents?
I did. I was trying for so long to get help. I actually filled out questionnaires for the intervention show, but nobody had gotten back to me, and it was getting.
Blame that on Rod.
Yes.
It's all Rod's fault.
He was not the producer.
He was the screener. And
I know.
he's
You know what?
anti-Culver City.
I know there's so many people out there that need help, but it's It's
Yeah.
really hard. But I'd like to say that my brother is a year and a half sober now.
That's amazing.
Congratulations.
That's amazing.
And has a job at a sober living.
Oh,
So he's
great.
helping other
Right on.
people.
Well, that's great,
amazing.
Chris. Thanks for the call.
Hey, Chris,
I really
let me ask you
appreciate
a
the. I want to go on because
Yeah.
I want to talk about. And Chris, please listen to this. But Rod, we talk about a lot of people talk about people needing to bottom out before an intervention will work, and yet there's a lot of talk now in the intervention community about raising the bottom. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, or
I believe that I don't believe in somebody having to hit a bottom. Sometimes somebody's bottom can equate to death.
right.
So I don't want to wait for that to finish happening before I intervene. I really believe that you can create willingness through curiosity, okay? And willingness can be created through somebody's lack of information about what treatment is about what sobriety is about, and trying to make that as an attraction versus what they're doing in regards to drugs or alcohol can work and has worked.
And you could
Right.
also ruin. This is what was done to me. You're ruining sometimes people's buzz. My parents got me very. I was put into a rehab at the age of 18 years old, and even though I wasn't ready, the drug counselor there always used to say, it was in Israel, and he always used to say to me, "You're not going to get sober now." And I know it. He goes, "But you'll never be able to get me out of your brain when you drink." And he literally ruined every drunk I had after that because he had showed me that it was. He had showed me all those things.
He showed you another way.
He showed me another way, even though
This
I
is
wasn't
getting really personal.
Yeah. Even though, we are a show about being personal.
We are.
And, even though,
hug.
even though, and I think it's just important because I think what you're right about raising the bottom. And
Well, AA talks about attraction, not promotion,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So, and I think that's a lot of what we try to do with the show is show people that have already recovered, and that have had a positive outcome with their life within a life of recovery.
But there's so many stigmatisms out there because of either television or whatever of what rehab really is, and because of that, they have preconceived notions that I have to go in and change or even conquer in some
Do you
aspects.
think that reality TV's actually created sort of archetypes of people that are just kind of over the top? I mean, I watched Celebrity Rehab, for example, and it's nothing like our treatment center. I mean, we've never had anyone have a seizure because we medicate them properly. We've never had people throwing up through detox because we medicate them properly through a detox. And, to watch that has been very disheartening for me personally as someone who owns treatment centers to see this sort of one glorification of the addict and their narcissism or their self-centeredness through being a TV star all of a sudden. And then number two, to see what I consider really bad treatment. I mean, the treatment that I saw on TV was really pretty awful. One thing that I really wish had happened with intervention, and I realized why I didn't, because it's kind of breaking a lot of rules, but, it was nice to see the before and after, but the show left out probably a lot of quality information about how good treatment happened.
I always got asked after my episodes aired, wherever I was at in the country, I was always asked, well, how did so-and-so look that shiny and polished afterwards? And it's because of the treatment process. And I still believe the treatment process has not been conveyed properly in regards to what really works in treatment. And because of that, there's misinterpretation by the public. My next 20 interventions, I guarantee you, half of them already think they know what treatment's about, but they've never stepped one foot inside of a rehab.
Right. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, I know people personally that have gone to certain rehabs thinking it's a vacation. They've seen them on TV.
A lot of them are marketed as vacations. Let's face it.
Like Club Med.
As second homes.
How big's the pool? What
Right.
quality's the food?
When does the
What's the
masseuse
linen
get here?
count?
Well,
Yeah.
you know what's amazing about rehabs that say they have pools? You never see anybody swimming in them.
It's true.
I have been to.
Hey, look! When I was CEO at Wonderland, which was a big celebrity rehab, that was like my first, rehab that I was sort of running, and we had two pools there. And the year and a half I was there, not one person ever went in the pool.
And nor do I really want addicts with a day and a half sober swimming. Okay, I mean let's be real.
It is a liability.
Anything over 3 feet.
Yeah,
Anything over 3 feet.
and it's actually very.
3 inches. What are you talking about?
That's right. Maybe a baby pool. And if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in the studio tonight with Rod Espudo from the show Intervention. But he's also actually an interventionist, and he's done over 800 of them. And
It's going to be 801 on RAND.
797.
And it's a slow process. And so give us a call. It's 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. Give us a call because I know people out there, and I know it's scary. And I know it's scary to call in and say, what do I do? How do I get help? This is totally anonymous. You could call into Rod, and he's a pro. And I want to hear, as we're going to break, I want you to tell us your worst intervention story because it's got to be a good one.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. What is it, Rod?
It's horrible.
No. I don't mean the one that's depressing. I mean the horrible, sort of funny one.
Okay, I can do one of those.
Yeah.
Horrible, sort of funny.
Yeah. The guns, you know.
Weave those together somehow.
Okay, back in the mid-'90s, I'd only been doing them for about 5 or 6 years.
Uh-huh.
Was it a break?
Yeah. No, continue.
And what ended up happening is that I wasn't as good as I used to be in regards to doing a background on the addict or whoever I'm going to do the intervention on. And we're about to do the intervention, and we start doing it, and the guy's brother is saying, you know what, Billy? I'm telling you right now, his name wasn't Billy. Billy, you know what? Your cocaine abuse, you were in the bathroom 3 days ago with me doing as many lines as I was, and how am I the problem? I had no answer for that.
And that's Rod Espudo from the TV show Intervention. You can feel free and feel safe to ask him anything you need. And that's 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. I'd like to thank our director, Rand, again. He's my normie friend. And
Normie.
That is, he's my, and you
Obviously doesn't know you completely.
I don't know. And so give us a call and feel free to ask any questions you have. We know this is really one of the toughest topics. And Rand, thanks again for coming in.
Thank you for having me in.
And we'll see you next time with another interventionist as we plot out our strategy of getting you help.
I appreciate Case Study X. Thank you.
And thanks again. And so if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Clean Radio. Also, please go check out our new site. It's
cleanradio.com.
Cleanradio.com. It's really awesome.
Redesigned, very cool.
And if you go there tonight, you could actually look at what Rod looks like. You could look at what Andrew looks like as we do the show and see
live stream.
See some of our new stuff. We have amazing hats, and if you want them, let us know. Call, get in touch with us. We will gladly send you out one of our new trucker hats.
It's Judah's new schmata business.
It is. It's my new swag. You just wanted to say schmata.
I did.
And so we'll be back in a couple seconds. I think so. Rand, we'll be back in a couple seconds. The discussion continues at Clean Radio.
Don't let addiction to drugs or alcohol steal another year of your life. KLEAN Treatment Center provides world-class addiction assistance that also treats the underlying causes and provides vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean. Live, kind, professional help is standing by to provide immediate assistance or to simply answer questions and provide guidance. If you or someone you care about is suffering from addiction, take action now and make 2014 the best year of your life with KLEAN Treatment Center. Now back to Andrew Spanswick and Judah Friedman.
Welcome back to Clean Radio. We're in the studio tonight with Rod Espudo from the TV show Intervention. And if you're watching, I got to show you Rob's biopic. And so please tune into cleanradio.com and go to the live stream.
You know what's funny? I think I got one just almost like that. We should have been side by side.
And this is classic Rod. And your girlfriend Karen is listening also. Aaron.
Oh, who's Karen then?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Judah's going to get you, Judah can ruin your life in one radio show.
By accident.
By accident.
And so if you just tune in, we're having a great show tonight. We're having the topic of how to get people help, interventions, and who better to have somebody from the show Intervention. But I also like that, it's sort of cool because you do watch a lot of TV and you watch a lot of reality TV. When people out there watch reality TV, and you were talking about celebrity rehab, I wouldn't exactly, Rod is accessible. And I think that's what makes something like that type of show sort of cool is that, hey, this guy did the show. I sort of like him. I sort of, something about him, I could call him. As opposed to certain shows, you wouldn't exactly be calling that. I don't want to say.
A lot of people do, though.
His last name rhymes with brew. So give us a call. That's 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. Let's go to Bob in Vancouver, Washington. Welcome to Clean Radio, Bob.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Bob?
Pretty good. So I'm gonna say that I have been an alcoholic since 25.
Sober or?
Nope. Still trying to figure it out.
And how old are you now?
32.
So that's 7 years.
Yeah, going on 7 years. It's not healthy. I'm drinking way too much. But I had a comment about. I heard you guys talking about the treatment centers and how they're like talked about as a resort.
Well, yes. There's
Some
yeah.
are very marketed very much for like high end, the high end market.
And even if they're not high end market, like there are some in Vancouver. I don't know if I can say names or whatever, but that like give away ice cream.
They give away ice cream.
Yeah.
That's the pedophilia rehab.
You might have a different rehab.
Lollipops and ice cream. Gosh, it's scary.
Yeah, like milk on tap, like cold milk on tap, and like.
You know what?
Five-star dinner.
Honestly, I've actually heard about this before, and there was a company that's now out of business that was a psych company, and they used to go down and they took Medicare psych patients, and they would go down into like the homeless drug addict area where people they knew had SSI disability from Medicare, which they could bill under, and they would go down with, no kidding, ice cream and sandwiches. And they would and beer, and they would give them an ice cream, a sandwich, and a beer. And if they would agree to come in to the hospital, they'd give them another beer.
I thought I asked you not to share how we met.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
No, it's crazy,
Andrew
but
to not tell that story.
But actually, the company ended up getting prosecuted by the federal government, and there's all these rules now about marketing, but they don't cover rehabs. They do cover any government-imbursed program.
Bob, the biggest question though tonight is, what are we going to do with you? Okay,
Well,
Absolutely.
You're 32. You've been drinking obviously for the past 7 years. I'm guessing probably before.
This is Rob.
Yep.
Let me ask you, what is it you think you need to hear that will make you want to get sober? What is it do you think you need to see in order for you to get sober?
You know what? That's funny you asked, because I was actually hoping I would hear it from you guys.
Well, you're speaking to the right guy. What he's asking? What is it? What is it? What is it?
Well, I don't really know.
But let me ask you two questions, okay?
Okay.
What is the best thing that's going to happen to you if you don't get sober, okay? Number one. Number two is, what is the worst thing that's going to happen to you if you go into rehab? They're not trick questions.
I've been to rehab a few times, but it's been those resort kind of situations. And, it was fine and dandy while I was there. I made it, I never did 90 days inpatient or anything like that. But, I would do like a week, get through the detox, get out, think I'm cured, and then go back to drinking.
Can I suggest one thing?
Yeah.
Just take 30 days out. You got, what are you, 32 years old, right?
Yeah, 32.
Okay. Let's say hypothetically you don't smoke, you don't live near any toxic waste dumps. You got about 40 to 50 years of your life left. The quality of those 40 or 50 years is going to depend upon 30 days. Just 30 days.
What is it that you do, Bob? Not specifically. You don't have to tell me.
I work in the healthcare field.
Okay. So we know then you're able to actually get off work.
This is very typical of people that work in healthcare fields often are the ones that abuse themselves the most. They spend so much time working with other people and helping other people that they don't take care of themselves. We see that quite a lot. And they're also the ones that are most in denial because they over-intellectualize their own problems, right? They can make excuses much better than other people.
I'm not bad as that guy.
You're not as bad as that guy. Well, that's good,
Bob.
Bob.
Has the excuses.
Bob, I can always come up with somebody worse. Trust me.
Bob, but I think also what Rod is asking, what's stopping you? What do you need to get some help? What do you need to get help? You tell us right now. We'll get it for you. Bob,
What was the question again?
what is it that we could do right now? But Rod, you asked, since this
Here's
is
the
your
deal, Bob. What do you want from me or any of us that will help you commit? Because what does it come down to? You make the effort, but you lack the commitment. Okay, so what it comes down to is, what do you need to help you commit to treatment?
ice cream?
You know what? I think just hearing you say the next 30 days, take that off, it determines, the future of your health and everything like that. That is big insight. I never thought about it that way.
My job.
Right.
That's why he's done 797, and you might be 798. Bob, I'll tell you what. Do you want to get help tonight?
I would like to, yeah.
Why don't you stay on the line? And if you want to get help tonight, we're going to figure out in any which way possible. It's not a resort, but it's an amazing place in Vancouver, in Washington
Do they
State.
have ice cream?
I'm sure we could find you ice cream, Bob. And
Might not be the flavor you want.
yeah. So yeah, Rob, what were you going to say?
There's a great program in Vancouver I've loved a lot, and also KLEAN Radio. Don't you guys have something up going on?
Yeah,
in
we've got a
Vancouver?
couple places up. We got one in Long Beach, Washington. So, yeah. But, Rob,
We got
Bob,
the location. Do you have the
This is about getting with Rob.
Bob, I want to get Bob to actually speak to a counselor and get him, the best thing is you really need to find out. We're going to give you a number offline here, which we have people 24/7 that talk to you, and they'll assess what your needs really are, and then we'll match you with the right treatment center.
And honestly, it doesn't have to be us. It could be any place, Bob, that fills your needs, and hopefully you'll do
you
it.
guys are the right place.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to make you this thing, Rob. I want to do this because I like Rod, and I want Rod to come back in 30 days. I'm going to tell you what, the only way Rod ever comes back on KLEAN Radio
I have no idea.
is if Bob gets in. And in 30 days, let's track this guy, Bob.
I'm in.
Yeah, let's do it.
You in for that, Bob? You in for
that,
being
Bob?
tracked?
I'm down.
Cool.
Okay, so hold on.
right, hang on.
Just
We're
hang
gonna
on, and Rand is
you on
going
hold.
to get you. And that's Bob from Vancouver, Washington. If you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. So give us a call, 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. We're in the studio tonight with Rod Espudo, and I think that's absolutely amazing that this guy, Bob from Vancouver, Washington, had enough courage to call in and say, not just that he needed help, he was talking through his denial.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And that 7 days sort of come in, get detox, and go back out.
Yeah.
That's so typical of people that come in and aren't really ready yet, don't really understand, and they don't have that basic insight. They're still sort of in this denial of, hey, if I can just get past the detox, I'm actually back to normal, and I'm healthy enough to go get drunk again, which
was
is
me.
really common. I mean,
3 hots and a cot,
right?
Like
you do so much coke, you're so sick, and then like 4 days later, your nose, you can breathe through it again. You're like, oh yeah, I can go out tonight. Yeah, fantastic. It's like so common.
I mean, and that's it. And that's what were the 2 things that was pretty cool. What was the 2 things you just said to him? The 2 questions?
The 2 questions is they're not trick questions. It's just, what is the best thing that's going to happen to you in your life if you continue the way that you're going?
Right.
And what is the worst thing that can happen to you if you
go to
go
rehab.
treatment?
Yeah, and that's a matter of showing people perspective, right? Getting them out of themselves and seeing that, hey, you know what? I'm actually like really deluding myself into thinking that like drinking or doing drugs is going to get me something.
Right.
And I got to tell you, to the people out there listening, I know somebody you did an intervention on. He's a very close friend of the show. And so a lot of times when people say stuff, it's hard to get. The only way sometimes in this type of industry you could see that how a person does their job is through the successes that they have. And, a very close friend, a guy that helps us out greatly, I'm sure I could say his name, but Delmer Buddy Totten, and who's doing all our Facebook postings now. He goes by Buddy to most. And I just love his full name. But it's an amazing job you did with him, and he's sober a long time.
Yeah.
And I know not everyone's a success like that, but is that hard? Is it, for you, how does that,
Well, when people don't work out?
Yeah, when people don't work out.
Well, I have a pretty high success rate, and it's based upon doing, the actual work prior to the intervention, as much background as I can get. And methamphetamine interventions are the most difficult. They're the most difficult because you don't know who you have or what you have. Those are the most ones I struggle with, But most of all, I don't look at them as being bad or they're trying to do something wrong. They're just very sick, and they don't know how sick they are, And because of that, you got to let them go in order to understand, for them to come back, what they need to do in order to stay with the family or stay with wherever they're at, but make it a clear message as to what they need to do. So when they do come back, there's no reservation. Okay, I'll do this, but not that, and in some cases, I will say that, the one that hurt me the most were the ones that the parents were devastated the worst.
Yeah.
They got a great home life. There's nothing at home that dictates what they became.
Yeah.
And it's just sad. It's really sad.
Let's get to another call. I want to go to, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Levance in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing
Did
today?
I pronounce that correctly?
That's correct. That's absolutely
Okay.
correct.
Well,
First,
welcome
I just
to-
wanna,
How'd you
I'm
hear
a
about us,
first-time
by the
caller
way?
and listener.
How'd you hear about us in Cleveland?
You know what? Just surfing the net, and
Cool.
actually downloaded the icon for the radio station that you guys are on last night, and I was just checking. You know, always checking. Just heard Clean Radio, and it applies to me all the way across the board. I'm 8 years sober now, but
Congrats.
9 years
That's
coming
great.
in August.
Yeah.
And actually, it's ironic. You know, Intervention was my favorite show.
Ah, there you go.
You know, in the middle of my addiction.
That's behind the music was mine.
So Levance, now that you are part of Clean Radio, and live on the air, what can we answer for you? Or you got something to point out?
Well,
or?
you know what? I just have a vent real quick about the high end treatment center. I actually lashed out at them probably 6 or 7 months ago. Just real frustrated with the commercials saying that there's a cure.
Yes.
Yes, we know who you're talking about.
Please don't say the name.
Absolutely.
Please, yeah.
And the thing about it, if acupuncture, a spa, sauna, painting, walks on the cliffside could cure addiction, and nobody in Hollywood would be getting high.
Yeah.
It's not the Magic Castle, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Levance, what did you do? How did you get sober?
Well, you know what? I went to a treatment center here in Cleveland called Orca House, which is one of the oldest minority run and heavily client-based treatment centers in the country. Orca, after the killer whale, I guess it's named. But went there twice, actually. Didn't get it the first time, and went back again. But I heard my story, there and realized I wasn't unique. And I always thought I was special, and I was so smart and so savvy, and I'm a comedian as well. And I thought,
Tell me a joke.
Don't do
I'm
that to
joking.
him.
I'm joking.
It's gonna reach through.
Yeah.
It's gonna reach through the phone and strangle you,
Levance,
dude.
if you go back a couple weeks ago, we actually had some comedians.
I realized,
Yeah.
but I realized the hardest person to help is a person that doesn't think anything is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I applaud the previous caller, for at least acknowledging that he has a problem.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. My wife and I go to court tomorrow. We've had my brother's 2 kids for a year, 1-year-old and 3-year-old.
Wow.
And so we actually go to court tomorrow to get permanent custody of them because my brother doesn't believe treatment works. I'm like, well, if treatment didn't work, I wouldn't be in a position to get your kids.
That's an amazing point you're bringing up, because when somebody's in active addiction, 2 + 2 does not equal 4.
You know what I like about it, Levance, is that there's a lot of addicts that I deal with, obviously owning treatment centers, and been doing it for a while. And what I see, and I'm proud of you for not seeing it in you, is that a lot of people that even do get sober still beat themselves up about things like childcare and stuff like that. Regaining people's trust, or they don't feel like they deserve people's trust because of the things they've done in the past. And that's one thing that I find is very difficult sometimes for people, once they've been sober for a while, to actually believe in themselves enough to actually go out there and say, you know what, it is okay for me to take care of people's kids.
Right. And you know what's really cool?
I look at it like this, real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
No, go ahead.
Cut me off as much as you want.
I was a piss poor father to my kids in the midst of my addiction. So I look at it as God giving me an opportunity to correct the mistakes that I make with my own kids.
Right, and for an addict, it's just as important for you to do that it is for them to receive it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
I see myself and my brother.
And Levance,
I see
I got to
myself
tell
and
you,
my brother.
Levance, I got to tell you something, and it's really cool because, Rod was on the show Intervention, and it makes me so happy to hear, because we've dealt with people calling in, sometimes, Rod, about breaking anonymity and all that jazz. And if you weren't on the show Intervention and breaking your anonymity, not, telling people how long you're sober, somebody like Levance was probably watching you as high as a kite, and something went in, something soaked in, and that message never would have been spread had you not done that. I mean, it's amazing.
But the thing about anonymity, and that's the issue I have with the program, and I talk about this in my comedy when I do shows for them, is, how can we be anonymous when we have keychains and T-shirts?
And tattoos. That's the new thing.
And sobriety dates on our arms. And
the time I needed to be anonymous was when I was out on the street.
Yeah, right.
I want everybody to know now.
Especially from the police.
See, he told us a joke.
So true.
Yeah, Vance, I want you to do us a favor. I want you to call us back next week. Tell us how the court thing went.
Yeah, sure will.
And also, if you go to Facebook, if you go to KLEANradio.com, I want you to email us, and we're going to send you some of our new amazing swag that we got.
I got them.
And I really,
Will do. And I just liked you guys on Facebook,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go to your website.
yeah. And please do
And
that.
I'll shoot you guys an email.
Yeah, you can watch us live on video every Sunday night. We film live here in the I should say digitally record, right? I gotta get my ageism is showing on myself. Anyway, so we digitally recorded all the shows, and then we also all the past episodes are on KLEANradio.com, so you can go back. We have almost 200 episodes up there.
We are shameless self-promoters.
I would love
And,
well, congratulations, and I'm a new member of KLEAN Radio.
thank you so
Great,
much,
Levance. I love it.
And thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, you guys take care.
Yeah, you
Thank
too.
Bye-bye. And that was Levance calling from Cleveland, Ohio. And if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. We're in the studio tonight with Rod Espudo, interventionist, and...
All around great guy.
All around great guy. I was about to say the lovely and talented.
Oh my God!
I was trying to cut you off from some inappropriate comment.
I just love his bio picture, and it's classic.
You know what's great, Judah, is you can actually take it home with you.
I plan on it. And let's stop that there. Family-friendly show. So, Rod, how do people find you?
You can go to Rod Espudo Interventions Incorporated.com. That's one way you can go ahead and get a hold of me. Facebook.
Yep.
I'm open on Facebook. You can get a
And
hold of me there.
we'll post your information on our Facebook and KLEAN Radio, of course.
So how do we? So you're in an industry that listen. You have a rough job, and you need, and people get reimbursed for tough jobs, but some people in your industry have taken a bit of advantage of that sometimes.
I've never turned away a job because of money. Not in 26 years. The day that I do is the day that I'm done.
That's amazing.
I mean, people, all over the country. Once I was on the show, this woman yelled at me and was mad at me because I wouldn't pay my way to New York and, do the intervention on her brother and make it a success. And I'm like, if you can bring him to me, I'll do it for free. If you can meet me halfway, I'll do it for free. But, I got to show some effort from the
Andrew's
family
exactly
part.
the same way. And I got to tell you, that's, Andrew's scholarships, more beds than
I should.
Than he should, and people constantly want to, and people, and that's he doesn't talk about it, but I'll brag about him for it. The only thing he ever says to people is pay your ticket. Figure out a way to get, and you hear the amazing responses sometimes. And that went again to what I said. It's like addicts are so resourceful, but you say to them sometimes $400 for a plane ticket. That's where they draw the line.
Well, it's like it's
$7.96.
Yeah.
the other thing is like exercise with addicts, right? Like if there's crack at the top of the hill, they'll walk right up. But when it's like exercise group, man, they're like their pinky hurts and they can't get out of bed, man. It's like
Did you get people in the 12-step world giving you a rough time because he did intervention?
No, as a matter of fact, I wanted to clarify something. The difference between treatment and sobriety, is that sobriety is filled with suggestions and treatment is filled with commands.
Yeah.
Okay. I also sober coach. I have for 23 years before it was fashionable. And one thing I learned is I got a lot of stuff from people in different 12. Because you're sponsoring them, I go, I don't talk about the steps.
Right.
I have a treatment plan. I have a master treatment plan, and it's actual treatment. And just like interventions, what's the difference between a 12-step call and an intervention? This person's family is supporting them in going to treatment, not a meeting. As 12-step calls back in the day, in the late 80s, was you're trying to get somebody to a meeting, and that was the source of the 12-step call. And I had to be real clear with people that what the difference is, and I had to make those definitions for myself.
Well, I think part of why you do that also is because you're actually trained in doing this. You actually went through training.
Well, one of the things that I think is occasionally good about 12-step meetings for newcomers, people that are going there for the first time, is often they'll run into people that can recognize that the person actually needs treatment before they then just go to meetings.
Right.
And so you see people that are like going cold turkey and detoxing, and it's like, whoa, this is actually dangerous.
Right.
You actually need some medical help. So every now and then I'm relieved when I see that. So at least there's some good parts of that. But I think people need to know that. They need to know that treatment is not necessarily just 12-step process. There's important medical and physical things going on with people's bodies that need to be addressed when you're dealing with someone that's been using substances for a long time.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And the man who did the intervention on me in July of 1988 was Dr. Ron Holman, who owns a HMO called the Holman Group. And he was my mentor, and he taught me to transport the person to treatment. He taught me to visit that person if they were in reasonable distance once a week to see how they're doing. And, once you bring somebody in, you don't just walk away. Once you bring them in, if you were the catalyst, you maintain being the catalyst until your job is done.
What do you think this idea like sponsors in AA and they not really having any training and, and just sort of passing on what they've learned, but do you think there could be some reform of that or something that could be done to make that better?
Back in the mid-'90s and maybe the late, before the millennium, there was only a few of us in town that were actually, qualified to do what we do. And now there are thousands,
Yeah, well, that's what I was...
And it's scary because, the thing is that, I've made a bunch of mistakes back in the early 90s in order to figure out a proper and healthy way to do an intervention professionally. What I see nowadays are a guy comes up, I'm thinking about doing interventions. Well, I'm thinking about being a heart surgeon tomorrow. What do you think? Should we go for it? And I think what's really important is that there's actually a process that needs to happen before anybody can treat anybody in regards to sponsorship. Legal relationships and business are not of my. That's not what I'm trying to convey to the person I sponsor.
Right. You're taking them through the 12 steps.
That's all.
You're not a finance expert, and you're not a relationship expert
or a business expert
or a medical doctor.
Yeah, or a medical doctor.
Absolutely.
And you're right. And it's but
it's amazing to me how many sponsors think they are. I mean, these people that have, and these ones that have made like a career of being having 50 sponsees. How unhealthy could that be?
But again, you got to remember, it's also this happens essentially a lot in places like this.
In LA,
where I got sober in Brooklyn, it was very, if you asked Tony Counter, who I was talking about in Brooklyn before, financial advice, he'd be like, I don't care. No, and we just sent somebody back to New York, and and I hooked him up, a good friend. And I hooked him up with my friend, and I go to my friend. Well, he does this, and the guy goes to me in his Italian accent. He goes, I don't care. He's like, I don't care what he does. And that was like the perfect.
Of course, that was such an LA comment to have to point out what he did.
Right. But no, I was giving him a warning. And it's very different because we're out here. I think because of the lifestyle, it's a culture. It's almost employment in some ways, and.
Let's face it, most actors have a lot of time on their hands.
It's funny that you say that because as a sober coach, I have never been seen with my client, whether it be on a tour or on a movie location. And today, sober coaches are doing television shows with their clients.
It's disgusting. And they're breaking every HIPAA law known to man.
And the thing is that, as a coach, you know what? My job is to stay in the background, stay hidden, not take credit for what I do, and yet try to do what I can to save this person's life.
And just so people know, this isn't, the 12 steps saved my life. And I know, Rod, in your case, it's the truth, too. This isn't a knock. This is just sort of a warning to some people that, go to somebody at Morgan Stanley for your financial advice. Go to.
I don't know about Morgan Stanley.
Or somewhere. I don't know why I gave Morgan Stanley the plug.
They haven't given me free commission, so I'm not endorsing them on the radio.
You go to a doctor for medical advice. You don't go. That's you want to go through.
And sponsors don't take their sponsees off any medication they're not educated on.
That's exactly right. And and that's what Andrew's talking about. It's just be careful.
Yeah. And that stuff horrifies me when I see that. It's just like,
and then, but at least we're having dialogue now. So Rod Espudo, you're a good man, and hopefully Bob is going to get checked in. And either way, you're a fun guy, and we're going to have you back on the show. And because if you don't, I'm going to take that hat back and get very mad at Buddy. And
the hat comes with conditions now?
Yeah, maybe. And I don't want to say that. Well, but Rod, how do people find you?
Again, RodEspudoInterventions.com or on Facebook.
Out. That's
RODESPUDO Interventions. Well, if you don't know how to spell that, we're
You're
lost.
Really
anyway.
in trouble.
.com.
And I think it's really cool. So
You
if
don't
you're
even have
out-
to spell anything anymore. You just say it into Google or whatever, or Siri or whatever
Well,
you
not
got.
everybody has your type of phone. Okay,
Oh,
you know,
sorry.
some people have the iPhone 4, where it doesn't exactly have that yet.
Yes, it does. You just don't know how to push the button.
That's true. So you're going to teach me about that afterwards.
Okay.
I want to thank you again, Rod, for coming in. I know you showed up tonight, and I know you had certain issues, and of getting here because there was a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you again for coming. I want to thank Rand DeWitt, who directs the show, for coming in and being like the man on the street, as he would call him.
I'm going to thank Judah tonight. Thank you, Judah.
It's my pleasure, and it's an honor. And I want to thank all the people that it helps to. I love Levance because he's listening in Cleveland, Ohio. He found us on the web. He found us, and it's pretty cool, that we're in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And Cleveland does rock. So go to facebook.com/KLEAN Radio. Like us, tell us what you think. We get back to you really quickly because a lot of people, send private messages. And if you need to get in touch with Rod or ask him anything, you could go there, private message us. We'll get in touch with him very quickly. And I want to thank the fans out there, because and the people out there that listen, that call and do all that stuff, because it makes everything worth it.
Absolutely. Yep.
I want
And,
to thank you guys for making it real easy to be here. Not simple.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Not simple, right?
Not simple, but very easy. And again, thank you for making what needs to be heard. And without you, you know what? A lot of people would be walking and flying blind.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you guys for putting it out there, what's really happened.
And you know what? It's about opening up the
Appreciate it.
dialogue. And because what Andrew's talking about, a lot of people are scared sometimes to talk about. They're scared to talk to their sponsor. They're scared to have this dialogue because how dare you have dialogue?
Well, if Judah can talk to me, anybody can talk to me.
That's pretty darn true, as they'd say. And give us a call if you're going through anything. It's 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. No matter what you're going through, no matter the pain, there is hope. Rod shared some amazing stories tonight about hope. It might not take a day, it might take 6 months, it might take 7 years, but no matter what, don't give up hope. If you're alive, there's a chance. The discussion continues at KLEANradio.com.
Don't let addiction to drugs or alcohol steal another year of your life. KLEAN Treatment Center provides world-class addiction assistance that also treats the underlying causes and provides vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean. Live, kind, professional help is standing by to provide immediate assistance or to simply answer questions and provide guidance. If you or someone you care about is suffering from addiction, take action now and make 2014 the best year of your life with KLEAN Treatment Center.